What if I told you that at the exact moment Jesus was being crucified, the sky going dark wasn't the only thing reacting? What if, beyond the screams of the crowd, beyond the nails tearing through flesh, beyond the blood soaking into the dust of Golgotha, something else was happening, something unseen, something powerful, something that most people have never even considered? Because while the world looked at a dying man, heaven was watching something very different. What if, just above that hill, just beyond what human eyes could perceive, there were beings standing in silence, not ordinary angels, not messengers, but warriors, ancient, powerful, terrifying in their presence. Michael, the commander of heaven's armies. Uriel, the keeper of divine fire and hidden mysteries. And they weren't just observing. They weren't passive. They were positioned, waiting, holding something back. You've heard the story of the crucifixion 100 times. The crown of thorns, the nails, the cross, the final breath. But what if I told you that everything we've been shown is only half the story? Because while the physical world saw suffering, the spiritual world saw strategy. While people saw defeat, heaven saw execution of a plan older than time itself. So let me ask you something. Why did the sky go dark in the middle of the day? Not at sunset, not gradually, but suddenly, at noon, for 3 full hours. Why did the earth shake, as if something deep within creation was responding? Why did the veil in the temple tear at the exact moment Jesus breathed his last? And more importantly, what was Jesus actually doing in the spirit while his body hung on that cross? Because here's the part most people never ask. If Jesus had power, real power, the kind of power that could calm storms, raise the dead, command angels, then why didn't he use it? Why didn't he stop it? Why didn't he come down from the cross? Unless he wasn't losing it all. Unless everything that looked like weakness was actually controlled, intentional, strategic. And that's where things begin to shift. Because when you start looking beyond the physical, you begin to realize something unsettling, something powerful, something that changes everything. At that exact moment, while the world saw pain, the unseen realm was holding its breath. Lucifer was watching, the fallen one, the ancient rebel, the one who had been waiting for this moment since the beginning, since Eden, since the first prophecy that a seed would come and crush him. And now, there he was, hanging, bleeding, seemingly helpless. To Lucifer, this looked like victory. The plan had worked. The Son of God was dying. But something didn't feel right. Because heaven wasn't reacting the way it should have. There was no chaos, no panic, no retaliation, just silence. And in that silence stood Michael, sword drawn, not attacking, not moving, just waiting. And beside him, Uriel, burning with a light that wasn't visible to human eyes, watching, focused, unshaken. They weren't confused. They weren't afraid. They knew something. Something the world didn't. Something even hell hadn't fully understood. Because what looked like the end was actually a turning point. And here's where it gets deeper. Because in the unseen realm, power doesn't always look like action. Sometimes, the most terrifying form of power is restraint. Jesus had power. He could have called down legions of angels. He could have ended everything with a word. He could have stepped off that cross and rewritten the moment instantly. But he didn't. And that silence, that restraint, that willingness to endure, that's what made heaven still and made hell uneasy. Because demons understand something many people don't. Uncontrolled power is dangerous. But controlled power, power that chooses not to act, that's terrifying. And at that moment, that's exactly what was happening. Michael felt it. You can almost imagine it. His grip tightening on his sword, every instinct ready for war, every part of him prepared to move. But he didn't, because he was waiting for a command. Uriel saw it. Not just the moment, but what it meant. The layers, the meaning behind the suffering, the unfolding of something written long before time began. Because before creation, before the stars, before the earth, there was a plan, a divine plan, a redemption story, a moment that would change everything. And that moment was now. Jesus wasn't just dying, he was doing something. Something invisible, something intentional, something that required heaven to hold its position. And then, it happened. When Jesus cried out, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That wasn't just a cry of pain. It wasn't just suffering. It was a signal. Something shifted, not just on earth, but across realms. The atmosphere changed. The tension broke. The silence cracked. And in that moment, every being watching, human, angelic, demonic, felt it, because something had just been set in motion. Something irreversible. And Michael knew. Uriel understood. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of something far greater than anyone on that hill could see. Because the cross was never just about death. It was about transfer, authority, victory hidden inside sacrifice. And whatever was happening in that unseen realm, whatever command had just been released, was about to change. Everything. So stay with me, because what happens next goes beyond the cross, beyond the grave, and into a realm most people never even realize exists. Because once you see what really happened that day, you won't just understand the crucifixion differently. You'll understand power, authority, and spiritual warfare in a way you never have before. Welcome to Bible Mysteries, where we go beyond what's written, into what's hidden, where we explore the moments, behind the moments. And today, we're stepping into one of the most powerful unseen events in all of history. So buckle up, because we're not just revisiting the cross, we're uncovering the war that happened above it.